Welcome to Career TV. I'm Maddie May. This episode, I'll be talking with Michelle Baumstark, the Director of Community Relations for Columbia Public Schools. So what is it that your job entails?
My job really is very much what the title sounds like, to develop community relations on behalf of the school district. What it also includes, though, is public relations. So I spend a lot of time implementing the strategies that we've come up with in our communications plan, everything from the website to our publications. We have a cable access channel that my department is also responsible for. So just making sure that we have good communications with our community. My job also entails working with media, so I spend a lot of time doing interviews, working with students from the journalism school here at the University of Missouri, and really trying to get the word out about the good things going on in the school district. The other part of my job is really about working with the community, so I spend a lot of time serving on boards and commissions on behalf of the school district, implementing community engagement plans. My department also is responsible for managing our district volunteer program, our Partners in Education program, and then other programs within our district, for example, junior achievement.
Cool. So what made you choose this type of work?
I always had an interest in journalism. In high school, I worked on our school paper, and that really developed into a desire to go to the University of Missouri for journalism. And so I have a degree from MU in journalism. I spent a time after I graduated from college working as a reporter, and then that sort of spun off into the public relations field. And I took a job at the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education doing public relations for some of the federal programs that they have there. And I worked there for about 7 years. And then this position with Columbia Public Schools came open, and it was a time where I was ready to transition, to be closer to my family and not have to drive anymore. And really, it's been a wonderful fit, and I've been with the school district now for 8 years doing public relations, essentially.
That's awesome. So what does a typical day of work look like for you?
It is never the same, which is very similar to what I enjoyed about journalism. Is it is really different every day. I like the fact that it is different. So for example, in a given day, I may spend the morning in meetings or doing interviews with reporters, and then in the afternoon I may spend working on upcoming events or projects. I don't spend every day all day in an office, which I enjoy. A lot of time spent out in the community. We have, for example, today I did interviews this morning, and then later on this afternoon we're preparing for the groundbreaking for a new elementary school that we're opening here in the district. So I have a lot of event things I need to get done today. So I like that it is different every day. I like that I get to meet a lot of different people, and I get to have experiences outside of what you would think of as a typical job, getting to know other programs in the community, getting to work with lots of different individuals and lots of different organizations.
Cool. Said that twice. What are some advantages and disadvantages of your job?
I would say, obviously, the advantages is one of the things why I continue to stay in the field that I'm in is because you get to do something different every day. You get to learn new skills. You get to experience things beyond what you think of as sitting in your typical office and working at a computer all day. So that is definitely an advantage if that's something that you're interested in doing. I would say the disadvantage really is that your schedule is totally crazy. It's not a typical 9-to-5 job. There are lots of really early mornings. There are lots of late nights. So as long as you can be flexible with your schedule, then this would definitely be something you would be interested in doing.
That sounds really interesting. If you hire someone, what do you look for in an employee?
I think that goes back to maybe the last question that you just asked. I think it really has to do with being able to be flexible, not being afraid to learn new things and to try new things, because so much of communication is trying new things and learning new strategies and being able to know who your audience is and how they want to have their information. And in order to do that, you have to be really well honed in your skill. And so, going forward, always having to learn new things. So not having a fear to do those things. I also think that it is important for you to have communication skills, to be able to be outspoken and not have a fear of meeting new people. Communication skills, when you think about that, obviously your English skills, your writing skills, your editing skills, because I do a lot of that as well. Being able to just really work well with others, having that dynamic, being flexible is important.
Alrighty. How might your job change in the next 5 to 10 years with all the changes in Columbia Public Schools?
Yeah. Well, one, I think, we're in a significant growth period, and so really being able to expand what we do with communication to a broader audience. But I think that also goes back to being able to learn new things, because the way you communicate today may not be the way that you communicate 5 years from now. And so much of that is driven by the changes in technology. So you definitely can't have a fear of learning new things about technology, even talking about doing working within TV or working within print media. So much now is convergence, so being able to know multiple ways to communicate with your public, whether it be through the internet or through what you do with broadcast or with print media. So I think you really have to be in touch with what those changes are. And social media is a huge portion of that too, because so much of the information now comes through word of mouth or through social media. So you have to have a good understanding of how that communication works and why people like to get information that way, and how you can reach out to them in a way that one, communicates correct information, because that's the biggest challenge with social media, but then also two, to make sure that you're wide reaching.
For sure. So what did you learn in school that helps you the most in your job, or what do you wish you would have studied more to help you prepare for your job now?
Wow. Well, I think one is, of course, always paying attention to the technology part of it. And when I went through school, the internet was just really starting to bloom, and we were just starting to develop online news. And so you look at it now, and that's almost the number one way that people get their information. And so I think definitely paying attention to what the new trends are as you go through school is important. Definitely the communication and the writing skills. Knowledge of history, I think, in my position is something that is important as well, because there are so many things that have happened in the past that impact the way things will be in the future, and so understanding that is important. Believe it or not, I still use math, even though I'm in a field that is primarily communications driven. We have a lot of data that we have to analyze in order to make decisions about, one, how we're going to budget for our communications plan, but two, to drive what is going to be the most impactful way to reach your community. And so much of that is data driven, how they want their information. We do community perception surveys, and so we take that data to be able to, one, decide how they want the information, and two, whether or not we can really afford to do it, or are there other ways that we can do it. So I still use a lot of those skills.
That sounds like a bummer for us. For this episode of Career TV, I'm Maddie May. Thanks so much, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.